Hello. I wanted to share my latest money stuff I have going on. My name is Michelle. If you've seen any of my previous videos, then you know I'm a part-time teacher who has recently turned into a part-time entrepreneur to try to make ends meet because I don't want to go back to full-time teaching. And I have rental property. Unfortunately, my tenant moved out in March, so I have not gotten that money since March, and that was like $1,000. So of course that has definitely cramped my money and kind of thrown me for a loop a little bit. So I was trying to find some ways to keep up because like my credit cards, I was like, how am I going to be able to pay these minimum balances? So I Googled like paying off credit cards, and of course the usual suspects came up. So, you know, Dave Ramsey's snowball method came up. But I was like, that's not, I've tried that. That's not really what I'm looking for right now. And I stumbled upon velocity banking. Now, if you've heard of it before, you probably already have your opinions about it. If you haven't, I'm going to give you a quick overview. I happened to watch a video by Christy Van. She's amazing. I'm going to link one of her videos down below. She really does an amazing job of explaining the principles of velocity banking. I feel so blessed that I came across her first because there's a lot of other people on YouTube talking about velocity banking, but they make it so complicated that like I would have never even thought to try it based on the way other people are explaining it. But she breaks it down so simply. I mean, she's an amazing teacher and she kind of walks you through it, and it's great. Another person actually who she learned it from was Denzel. I think his name is Rodriguez. I'll link one of his videos too. He's a little bit more like detailed. He really kind of gets down into the weeds, and I understand him now, but had I started with him, I would not even be doing velocity banking because it was a lot. But Christy Van keeps it nice and simple. So in essence, what velocity banking is where you're using lines of credit or credit cards to pay all your expenses. And then at the same time, you're kind of paying down those credit card balances because you're kind of putting all your extra cash flow on there. So what I've decided to do is right now I'm really just trying to maintain, meaning until I get that house rented and I get that $1,000, actually might be more because I'm in the process of doing some renovations. So I think I can charge a little bit more rent. But anyway, until I get to that, I just am trying to salvage my credit so that my credit score is not just horrible from having all these like missed payments or late payments. So what I did was I sat down, I looked at my credit cards, and if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my little notebook here. So I decided to take, how many is that? 1, 2, 3. I decided to take 4 of my credit cards and try to do velocity banking with it. So I did Capital One, Bank of America, my Visa one, Old Navy, and Fidelity. And so this is what I did. I looked at my minimum payments for those 4 credit cards, and then I looked at what expenses could I pay through those credit cards, which would then meet my minimum payment, which means then I wouldn't be late and my credit wouldn't be getting dinged. Now, this method, of course, is just helping me tread water. So no, I'm not paying down any debt right now. I'm literally just trying to maintain my credit score so that I'm meeting the minimum payments. So to give you an example, or to kind of be a little more clear on what that means, it means, so for instance, my Capital One minimum payment right now is $166. And so I looked at, okay, what bills could I use and pay on that and then cover that 166. So what I did was I am now paying my T-Mobile cell phone and Comcast, my internet, through there. And that comes to $130. Well, technically that means I'm still needing like what, $33 or $36. So what I'm doing is now all I have to do is come up with the 36. So in essence, what velocity banking is allowing me to do is it's allowing me not to have to make two payments, if that makes sense. So prior to this, because it's only my first month doing it in June, prior to this, what I would do is I would be paying my T-Mobile bill and my Comcast in cash. And then what I would be doing is I would be paying my credit card bill in cash, which means technically I'm coming up with two different payments, in opposed to this way. Now what I do is I just make the normal, like the money I would have paid in cash on T-Mobile and Comcast, I just put it on my Capital One card. So for Old Navy, the minimum payment is $193. So for that, I'm doing my subscriptions. So I have like Netflix, that kind of stuff. And I'm also doing short-term disability through that. And then through Fidelity, I'm now running like my business expenses through that. So anything connected to the house that I'm trying to fix up and rent out again, anything connected to my pay teacher business, I'm running through that, and then I'll just pay it off. And so what this has allowed me to do is it's allowed me to free up a little bit more of my money, meaning now I actually can pay all my minimum payments. And then that way I don't have to worry about being late. Now, again, this is just like phase one. So once I get the house rented, then I can start looking at, okay, which one of these credit cards can I pay off? And in the meantime, keep running my other bills through the other ones. But right now, the idea is just, this is helping me. It helped me get current, which was great, because I was behind on like two different cards and I was like, how am I going to pay this? And it also is helping kind of keep my credit score halfway decent because I'm not having all those late payments. Now, if you are not like committed to being done with debt and stuff, then of course this is not going to be a good method for you, because in essence what would happen is if you're still going to be out there charging stuff, then you're going to end up having double bills again, because then you're going to be adding to your credit card, plus you still have your life expenses. And so what I'm doing is I intentionally picked things that I knew I wouldn't overspend on. So for instance, food is still cash, because food, I'm still trying to get a handle between the groceries and the dining out. And I just knew I would go over with that, and I didn't want to play around. But the bills that I have going through my credit cards are things that I know I'm not going to overspend, like my utilities, my subscriptions, my short-term insurance, things like that. And so I would say, I'm going to link, like I said, I'm going to link Christy and Denzel below. I would highly, if this sounds interesting to you, I would definitely watch Christy's, a couple of her videos first, because she just makes it sound a little easier. Now, of course, the way that she's doing it and the idea behind velocity banking, it's not necessarily my way, which is trying to stay afloat right now with these credit card payments. It really is a method of trying to like help you pay off your credit cards faster and using less interest. But again, with everything that when it comes to debt, it really is a mindset shift. So like if you're still, on the fence, you still kind of haven't gotten a handle on your spending yet, then it's not a good method to try, because it's almost like when people do like bankruptcy or debt consolidation and they pile all that stuff in one bin, but then they didn't change their behavior. And then before you know it, you're back in debt. So that's not the goal. But if you are someone who's really serious about trying to get out of debt, I think it's a really cool method. Of course, I am not a financial advisor in any way. But what I do like about this is I think that it's helpful for people like myself who have not necessarily learned the systems and how to use credit cards responsibly. And so I'm kind of building that muscle now with, paying a lot of my expenses through credit cards and then just paying that each month. So I'm hoping to eventually get to a point where once I pay off all my credit cards, I literally can just pick like one that I use for like everyday stuff and then pay it off and just keep this cycle going, and at the same time still be earning either a cash back or travel rewards. So again, it's called velocity banking, and it's definitely not for everybody, but it definitely can be a way if you find yourself like me, if you were behind on a few things, if you can kind of look at like the bills you have and the credit card minimum payments, and you kind of make those two play nicely together, you'll find that it just gives you a little bit more breathing room in your budget. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, be grateful, Bye-bye.